Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to kick off the first ever OAW podcast. This is a segment that I wanted to introduce in the summer, and unfortunately my schedule didn't allow me to. However, I got a rare opportunity. I got two of my friends and fellow YouTubers on the line right now, and there's some shit we need to speak about. So first and foremost, I want to introduce my good friend AJ on YouTube, known as Dragnot. AJ, tell the people what's up.
What's going on? Back at it again.
And I'm also joined by my good friend Jamal, also known on YouTube as The Fighting Gentleman.
For that is why you have summoned me. What's going on, peeps?
And so we're putting together our, collective genius, and we're going to talk about the recent acquisition of Lucasfilm by the Walt Disney Corporation. So that's going to be the topic for our first ever OAW podcast right here on Otaku
Assemble
Weekly. And as always, we're here to bring you the latest in this week's, in first ever podcast. All right, so as I mentioned, yes, the big hoopla this week, everybody going crazy on the interwebs and whatnot, just freaking out. All this madness going on because earlier this week, the Walt Disney Corporation acquired Lucasfilm for, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 4 or 4.5 billion?
It's it's a little over 4 billion. It's like 4.05 billion.
4.05 billion. And so, of course, and not only that, though, they also announced that they will be releasing a 7th Star Wars film. And the original rumor was that it was supposed to be, a direct sequel after Return of the Jedi. And there was rumor that it was going to follow the books that talk about, Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order, what happens with Han and Leia's kids, so on and so forth, that it was going to follow that storyline, which, when those books were first published, George Lucas himself actually considered that into the canon. He added it into the Star Wars canon. And so that was the rumor. However, I think it was yesterday, they announced that, no, it's going to be a completely new film. And so what we're going to do is we're pretty much going to go around the table, starting with Dragnot, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that thing.
Man, I know as soon as I read that, and it was everyone else read that first article, there was a great disturbance in the force, and it was felt between thousands and thousands of fanboys and girls for generations. It was truly, I just made that up, truly a bad day. But I've seen what happens with Disney puts their hands on things, and it's good to a certain degree, to a small demographic, but to us that have grown and loved certain series, it hurts. I mean, even South Park did a parody episode of how they manipulate their audiences with the Jonas Brothers, and I'm pretty sure y'all know what I'm referencing there. But it really hurts to hear that. Now I know he's getting old, George Lucas, and he wants to pass this torch, and 4 billion is kind of hard to pass up. But I'm not going to hold my breath, because from what I was reading as a kid, that the whole canon where you do go into Luke and Leia's kids and Han's kids and the eventual return of Palpatine, or his ghost manifestation, and the force sense, the aliens that are not force sensitive and they are immune to everything but force lightning. It gets very, very interesting. But for what I understand and for what I've read, that he's going to take non-canon and turn it into canon, and Disney's going to go with that. So I'm really not sure how to look at that.
To be honest, man, it could go either way. But when I think about Disney's latest track record, they haven't made anything new in quite a long time, and most people would be ready to shut me down and say, "Oh, well, they got all the 3D movies, man." Well, one thing you got to understand, that Pixar is a separate studio. Okay, they may be under Disney, but that is not the Disney's original team that works on the big project. What was the last big project? Was it The Princess and the Frog?
Well, no,
That was it.
no. Actually, to take a step back right there, which I'll bring this back up when I give my spin on the thing. But dude, remember John Carter? That was
Oh
Disney.
yeah.
That was
Okay,
Disney.
Oh yeah,
it
that's true.
was. Yeah.
Disney has the Lone Ranger coming out.
Mm. I heard about
Dark Shadows. Dark
that.
Shadows. That was
That
Disney
too.
also.
Right.
Frank and Weenie. That was Disney. So
Yeah.
now Disney's been producing.
Right.
They've been putting out movies.
For a while they weren't, but they are picking up. Of course, the titles that interest me have been kind of low on that list. However, it's a good thing that they're trying new things. But I remember you saying this to me, Larry, years ago that the franchise of Star Wars has been expanded and stretched upon in so many different forms. If it's not comic books, then it's video games, movies, whatever, blah blah blah. But the biggest fear is if they ever made a sequel based upon it goes after Episode 6. So with it being confirmed that it's not going to be that way, I can kind of have a slight sigh of relief. But at the same time, this is Star Wars. I didn't like Knights of the Old Republic because it reminded me of the old movies. It's because it was a Star Wars game that was good.
Right.
If Luke may not have been in there and all that, but when I did play a game where I had familiar characters, the result was The Force Unleashed. And I'm here to tell you, those games sucked. So with this movie, it's man, it really is. It's hard to say. Of course, most people are pretty ambivalent towards it. We'll have to see. They said that it comes out in 2015. If I'm not correct about that, correct
Yeah.
me.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, yeah, it's 15.
2015, which is already going to be a jam packed year to begin with, because that's the same year that Disney is also putting out Avengers 2. Oh well, see, I
I
didn't.
thought that was pre-production already, like the original Avengers.
Well, yeah. See, because I mean, Disney wasn't in charge of making the Avengers, just like they're not really in charge of making Avengers 2. They just
Yeah,
handle the
Marvel did that.
distribution and whatnot. But if you're talking about distribution and whatnot, that was a very successful film. I mean, they promoted the hell out, they marketed that shit left and right, which was the downfall of fucking John Carter. But
Hmm.
and I'll get into that once I get into my points. Um, but
Now you
yeah,
can go ahead, man.
okay, just wrapping up that one, about 2015, Avengers 2. That's when Warner Brothers talked about putting out the Justice League movie. That
Hmm.
is,
Yeah, that sounds good.
let's see, will The Hobbit be out in 2015, or does that wrap up in 2014?
There are already posters of it, so I think it comes out next year. I'm not sure.
Well, no, because no, actually, no, The Hobbit will be done by then, because they're putting out one a year, and
There
the
you
first
go.
one's this year, second one's next year, third one's 2014. Okay, so yeah, so that's what Disney's talking about, 2015. So here's my take on it. Now, when I first heard it, of course I was shocked. I was like, wow, that came out of nowhere. I never would have expected that. And then when I started thinking about it, I was pretty skeptical about it, because my thing was, I'm looking at it from the perspective that Disney has always been looking for that. Disney has always been looking for that sci-fi franchise. Remember, if you go back and you read up on John Carter, that's what John Carter was supposed to be. John Carter was supposed to be Disney's, you know, sci-fi trilogy blockbuster. I mean, John Carter.
Magnopus.
John Carter was one of the most expensive fucking films Disney ever made, and that was supposed to be the big, first movie that launched the whole fucking franchise, right? I mean, they were using a somewhat popular, but an old story, because I mean the Princess of Mars books. I mean, shit, that goes back decades. I think that goes back to the 50s. So, they were reviving it, and it was like, yeah. And then, of course, John Carter bombed. And so, when I found reading this now with them, acquiring Star Wars and not, my thoughts were, dude, they're just, they're just going to put out a film to make money. They're going to, they're relying on the fan base, and they're relying on the reputation and the recognition of Star Wars in order to get butts into seats, in order to get that cash flow, and they might not necessarily produce a good movie. Because let's face it, people will go and see it just because it's fucking Star Wars.
More or less,
Exactly.
yeah. Kind of like when people like mostly like the Star Wars because they what is the first thing they think about? They think of what lightsabers, Jedi's, the Force.
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my original thing. However, after I talked about it with a couple of people, I started thinking about it. I started, taking a step back and actually looking at this situation. First and foremost, AJ, what you said earlier about, Lucas, handing it down. That's one of the smartest things George Lucas could have ever done. Let, let's bury the hatchet. Let's be real about this.
I actually agree with that.
Let, 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 consider this, okay? We know that George Lucas is getting old, and he said on multiple times that he's one. I think he mentioned like he was retiring from filmmaking, like he was just gonna take a step back, maybe be produce a couple of things, but he wasn't directing anymore. He was kind of on the fence about whether or not he was going to be writing anymore, all that type of jazz. So you can tell that George Lucas is at that point now where he wants to retire.
Hmm.
Well, if George Lucas is going to retire, who better to take over, the fucking franchise that made him a household name to begin with than Walt Disney? I
There you
mean,
go.
what you gonna put in Walden Media's hands? Well, we saw how that worked with Narnia, right?
Oh God, no, 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 no.
I mean,
Suppressed
who are you gonna leave it to? What you gonna give it to? Who is that? New Line Cinema?
You're
I
gonna
mean,
give her the Bruckheimer films?
or
That's
I
Michael
mean,
Bay, by the way, people.
or what? Was he just supposed to completely hand shit over to 20th Century Fox? Are you sure you want to do
Oh
that?
God, yeah. I hate to bring it
Yeah.
up, but I'm gonna just say one phrase: Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh, don't go there.
Yeah.
That's
Would you
painful.
like to? Would you like to see Star Wars made by those same fuckers? No, I didn't think so.
X Men Origins Wolverine,
There you
Oh,
go.
and that wasn't too bad of a movie. That wasn't too
Fantastic
bad.
Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
That was beyond repair. Um,
Anyway, but you get my point. So the idea that not only is he signing not only did he sign it over to a company that for the most part actually turns out more good movies than bad ones. I'm not saying that Disney hasn't produced stinkers, they have, but they actually have a pretty good track record of producing more good movies than bad ones. But not only that, look who's taking it over. We're talking about a film conglomerate. I mean, the fucking Walt Disney Corporation is huge. It's fucking massive. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I honestly don't think that he could have put it in any better hands. Also, consider this. Now, like I said, my whole fear was that they just crank out a movie, relying too much on the franchise recognition, but maybe not. Maybe instead of Walt Disney having to push this brand new product, now they have a product that everybody knows of. We all know what Star Wars is.
yeah. You
So
say Star
maybe,
Wars, you instantly go into memories,
right. I mean,
childhood memories, no less.
the one hurdle, the one thing that Disney won't have to worry about with Star Wars, like they did with John Carter. With John Carter, where they fucked up was the marketing. They had to get people aware of this movie. They had to, get people invested in the franchise. They don't have to do that with Star Wars. So maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic. But the idea that Disney has a product that's already known around the world, and now they can do whatever they want with it, I'm more inclined to believe that Disney is actually going to want to produce a good product. And why? Because Disney is in the business of making money.
There
Now
you go.
they already know. They
Very
already
true.
know for one movie they're gonna get asses into seats. But what do you think is gonna happen if Disney helms not only a Star Wars movie, but the first of a trilogy and a good one?
Yeah, because the last trilogy. Moving on.
I mean, think about it like this: if Disney makes a good Star Wars fucking film that's supposed to be the first of a trilogy, dude, we might see the Avengers, billion plus dollars happen again. And that's what Disney is going for. They're trying to fucking get the next big $1 billion blockbuster. What better than Star Wars to do?
See, that's
There
the
you
thing.
go.
I don't doubt their ambition. Of course, either way, they're going to try and make some money. But it's about how they do it. Are they going to say, "Well, we're Disney, we're the biggest, we're the baddest. Let's put our own spin on things." And that's where I kind of get that sinking feeling is that we're going to put some Disney in there and do this shit our way. And you see, when I've been watching Star Wars film for 10, 15, 20 years now, and it's all British actors. Now, if they were to say, well, we're going to just, we're going to put some Americans in there. It needs to be American. I can understand that urge, but the thing is, you need some sort of continuity. There's some things you just cannot change.
Yeah, you gotta have some sense of consistency in there. Otherwise,
Come out. They're all British actors.
Not all of them.
except
Not
for
all of them. Excuse me. Not like Samuel Jackson. Definitely
yeah,
not.
and God knows where the fuck they found Anakin.
You talk about the prequels.
Yeah, the prequels.
Oh, the prequels. Okay, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the original, because I know damn well Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and fucking Carrie Ann Fisher are not British.
No. See, that's the thing. When they switched over, I kind of felt I felt better with them being British actors. I still bought the whole now Han Solo as an American actor. I feel his character, but Jedi's having the British accent. Now, if they did it like that, if you were force sensitive and you have this certain voice, unless you're a freaking alien, then I could see them doing that. Now, there's give and take with what they can do. Now, as long as they don't go crazy and they get all Australian actors or something, and you're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, personally, I think the one thing that most people are concerned with is because it's Disney, they attribute it to being oriented towards children. And, there is a following for children. They got the Clone Wars animated movie, which was terrible. And then there's the TV show, which actually isn't too bad. But, you can't, I hope they don't cut the violence without necessarily, we want it to be that dark, gritty, old school feel to it, while at the same time having that new sense of a presence without it having, like you said, Larry, to fall back upon the old story. Which, to me, if they're going to do it correctly, they can't make it a PG movie. They can't. They have to go the full 9 yards.
Well, but hang on a minute though. Last time I checked, Star Wars was never really that violent.
Well, you get what I'm saying though. But in the Clone Wars movie, like, they hyped up all the fights and no one died or got harmed, and there was violence, but it wasn't like there goes someone's head. Well, never mind. They did that in the second episode. Jesus, I actually feel bad about that now. But no, it had violence, but you get what I'm saying.
It was watered down violence.
Yeah, it had enough
violence.
impact to feel genuine in terms of, like, I just gutted you with a laser sword or whatever technology it's called. Feel free to correct me. Whomever's one. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Lightsaber. I'm not just talking about the literal name. I mean, like, what it is.
But I mean, but here's my thing though. Like, I don't really see Disney doing anything like that, because, like I said, like, the violence that's in Star Wars isn't. I mean, that's not too fucking violent for kids. I mean, look at the beginning of Episode 3 when Dooku got beheaded. You never saw the head fucking roll off his shoulders, but that's not even in the movie. You see what I'm saying? Like they show Anakin, make the gesture and you see the body drop. That's all you really need.
So yeah, it's just like with Jango Fett. You never saw the bot, and then plus, you just see the helmet. He didn't take the helmet visor off and be like, "Oh, there's my dad's severed head."
I mean,
no.
I think the most violent thing I saw in Star Wars would probably been Episode 3 when Anakin was burning.
Yeah, that was about as violent as it got.
Yeah,
'Cause that,
I mean, you see what I'm saying? And that, even that's not too violent for kids. So I don't think you have to worry about them like watering anything down because I, I mean the violence not that bad to begin with.
yeah, I just hope that the content and everything isn't too, because if you saw the animated Clone Wars movie, you get what I'm saying. It's not just the violence; it's the content as a whole and the way its presentation. They created a needless character, and everyone was too happy-go-lucky. And I'm like, I know that you're trying to push this towards kids, but you could have gone about it a different way.
I don't think you have to worry about that from Disney, man. I honestly
Uh,
don't.
yeah,
So
because the last trilogy they did, it was the Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, not trilogy anymore. They did
Damn, shit
four.
got real in that.
Yeah,
Shit
it,
got
it
real in
really did.
Pirates, and that was PG-13, all three of them.
Yeah, I actually still prefer the first one. I didn't see the fourth one. I heard it wasn't
Oh fuck
too
that
good
fourth
though.
one. Fuck
Was
that
it
fourth
really
one.
that bad? Oh
I didn't
man,
like it. I didn't like it. But
no, it's too
the third
gimmicky.
one. I thought the third one went on a little too long, but at
well, but
least
they had to wrap shit up. You know,
Oh yeah,
that was a long ass movie. That movie was like 3 hours and 15
yeah, it
minutes.
was like 3 hours. But
Yeah,
the thing I didn't like about it is how they try to. Well, let's get off topic. Keep
right.
going.
So now, what I'm curious though, because you know we got to talk about this. We gotta address this, and hopefully we can do it with the last couple of minutes that I got on this timer. But let's talk about the fucking fan reaction, okay? Because I mean, it seems like no matter what news comes out, there's always fucking crazy fan reaction. All these fucking rabid fanboys and foam around their mouths and that's not my Star Wars. You can't do that. You can't do.
Yeah,
You
I
get
have
the,
watched quite a few videos of people bitching about how this is just a generally bad idea without giving it a fucking chance, and it's really not fair. Like we were talking about this earlier about how I felt about Elder Scrolls getting an online installment. And I'm like, I was pretty turned off about it, but after reading the article from what is it, Game Informer, I'm like, if they do it correctly, I'm down with that. People should give it a chance, and I'm tired of this generation of skeptics that reject the notion that if anything that doesn't seem like it'll mesh together right away or instinctively.
Yeah, I guess it's people have been kind of jaded toward it because you get so many cross-genre issues. Especially, I'll just mention you have a series that's good series. You got like I'll just start Transformers, and then they try and turn it into a game. Granted, the Transformers game right now, the War for Cybertron, not bad. If you played some of the ones I want to say back in 2000, yeah, actually the one back in 2000, it was horrible. I actually remember playing that one. That game was fucking horrible, and it
God.
was just.
Was it based on the movie?
No, it was based on the series that
Oh
I
yeah,
think it had the MIDI cons, I think they were called or something, and I mean it had it had its iconic characters, but just the game itself was dreadful. Clipping issues, invisible walls, you name it. So you get so
You're
much
just thrown
of that.
together pretty much.
It's just thrown together, and then they make the game off the series because there's a movie coming out, or there's been a movie already made, and it ends up being shit. So now people are just like, oh, I can't stand. Okay, here we go again. Someone gets their hands on something they're not supposed to, and I think that's the general idea: is that people feel as though this person has their hands on something they're not supposed to mess with, and then it's going fucking haywire.
Right. They don't give it a chance. They think like, oh well, because of the situation, it's pretty much Pandora's box as soon as they come out with it, and that's not true. I've been kind of pissed off with some of the games that have come out from some of the developers that I've been interested in. But I don't hate the developers. I've just been hating what they've been releasing. I'm not going to like Resident Evil 6 because I like what Capcom's doing, because if you played that game with your own eyes, you can see it's bad. But if they made a Resident Evil 7 and it's good, I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll get it. Because I don't support crap. And boycotts, they can work, but
they
if
usually
you're not
don't.
going to give
They
it a
usually
chance,
don't.
they don't.
They usually don't. That shit's usually futile.
Yeah.
But it's like of course this thing was gonna, of course all of this shit was gonna happen anyway, with the rabid fanboys and shit. But nah, man, but the shit I'm talking about, like, I was on Facebook earlier and I read this fucking comment that quite honestly pissed me the hell off. And this is what the comment said. It said, George Lucas, hell no, Star Wars isn't for sale. Disney, we'll give you $4 billion. George Lucas, it's time for me to pass Star Wars on to the new generation of filmmakers at lack of integrity. See, shit like that, I don't like that type of shit. Okay?
I don't like that either.
And I'm getting to the point now where, like, when I see shit like that and when I read shit like that from motherfuckers, that shit really pisses me off. And I'll tell you why. First and foremost, and I'm so fucking mad I gotta keep explaining this shit to fucking people, okay? First and foremost, Star Wars does not fucking belong to you. That is George Lucas.
Thank you.
He
Yes.
can do with it whatever the hell he wants.
Intellectual motherfucking property.
It's not yours. It's his. Okay. So
That elitist mentality, man.
So let's get that across first. Then second off, this idea that, oh well, he's a sellout because he sold it to Disney.
How is he a sellout? It's a franchise.
First off, I don't understand how George Lucas could be a sellout when he sold it for $4 billion. You know how much fucking money George Lucas has been making since Star Wars first came out?
I have no idea, actually. Pretty sure
it's
A lot of fucking money.
It's one of the biggest franchises known to man out there,
Game,
man.
oh, yeah,
A lot
just
of fucking money. And then,
just with video games alone. Ooh.
and then
Yeah.
he's donating most of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Most of that 4.6 billion? Most of that's going to charity.
$5 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of that shit's going to charity. So how the fuck is he a sellout? What the fuck is a lack of integrity? Are you fucking kidding me? We're talking about look, not hear me out. Okay? I don't like Phantom Menace as much as the next guy, okay? Which is why I have high hopes for the Disney film, because it can't get worse than Phantom Menace.
Mm.
I mean, it's going to be really difficult. You'll actually have to put forth the effort to make a film worse than Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
You
you
know
have
what I'm
to call.
saying?
Let's give Tommy Wiseau a call. And
But my thing is this: lack of fucking integrity. You're talking about a man who went back and he fucking did these goddamn prequel films only for all of these butthurt rabid fanboy motherfuckers to damn near condemn him and try to crucify him.
yeah,
Now-
this was done out of fan requests. They were like, "Well, we want background for the Jedi Order." Blah 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 blah. Okay, here it is. You may not have liked it, but this is what you wanted. And most people are like, "Well, this isn't what we wanted." But at the same time, despite the result, you asked for this. You chose this.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? This whole fucking I don't like how, granted, even though I don't agree with a lot of the shit that George Lucas, especially since the prequels, like that Metachlorian shit, get rid of that shit, please.
Oh,
You
please
know,
do.
That,
Please.
George Lucas has done a lot of shit with the franchise that I personally don't like. But at the same fucking time, it's his. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. Who the fuck am I to sit up here and tell him to go fuck himself? You see what I'm saying? I don't like that type of shit. And I don't like that. And more often than not, and maybe, dude, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've experienced some of this shit on my own. Granted, nowhere near to the extent of fucking George Lucas. Not even close. Not even a smidget. But honestly, I've run into this type of shit just with my fucking YouTube channel. You see what I'm saying? These rabid fanboys, this fucked up sense of entitlement, all this bullshit. And
I made a video about this recently, man.
yeah, and so being a fucking creator myself, I understand where George Lucas is coming from a lot of the fucking time. Like I said, I don't agree with everything he fucking does, but at least I understand where he comes from, and I acknowledge the fact, and I respect it. That's his. He can do with it whatever the fuck he wants. Oh, god damn it, man.
Yeah, it pisses me off thinking about it too, man, because like these self-entitled bigots, you can't satisfy these people. You know what I'm saying? This is like a fucking this is like these fanboys are like if they were your girl or complete nymphos. You know, you could satisfy them in every way imaginable. But all of a sudden done, they're going to get up and go with somebody else. And it's frustrating because, but at the same time, you knew what you were getting into. So it's not like we should advocate this sense of self-entitlement because, like you said, it's not yours, it's for everyone. Whenever you cut off an entire aspect and mentality of thinking of what is desired, liked, and disliked, it defeats the very purpose of even, you know what I'm saying? You know who I really criticize a lot who makes movies? Tyler Perry. And here's why. He's made the same movie every year. That's why I criticize him. He has yet to make a movie that is unlike any other iteration or installment like its other. Whether it's the Medea movies or if it's spin-offs like Why Did I Get Married? Or, you know, even though he didn't make this, his latest debacle, Alex Cross, which he didn't create, but he was the main lead. But point is, with all his other movies, I don't see how these fanboys can pretty much sit back there and talk about, oh, he's so great, because he's not. He keeps making the same movie. When he tries something that's along the lines of thriller, suspense, or a different type of humor or presentation, then I'll give him more respect. But until then, I'm like, Tyler Perry, you want to make the same movies, that's fine, but don't expect me to sit there and take it like everybody else. And with the fanboys in Star Wars in this instance, they want pretty much another original trilogy. And I had discussed this with somebody before. They were saying that they liked the original prequel more. Granted, the storyline was a bit more, maybe a bit more interesting. You know, that's a highly subjective statement, as opposed to the original trilogy. But the original trilogy were better movies. You know, I don't dislike the prequels just because one was bad or two was bad, because I actually liked Revenge of the Sith. Surprise, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I actually liked.
That's the one out of the prequels that I do like. I like Revenge
Yeah.
of the Sith.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones
I really didn't have a favorite. Yeah.
Attack of the Clones, yeah, it was pretty much evident that, okay, too much special effects. Even though the third one had a lot of special effects, but the big thing I didn't like about all of them is that the lightsaber swordplay, it felt very wooden. Like the Phantom Menace, that was pretty much why everyone was even watching it. Because aside from that, the scripting was bad, the dialogue was bad, the sequence of events was bad, and then Jar Jar Binks. Enough said. So,
Right.
with that being the case, yeah, I didn't like the original prequels, but at least he tried to make good movies. And I love the original trilogy because it just goes to show that when they made it, they had a lack of resources and pulled off classic material. To this day, I still love those movies, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that thinks and believes and stands by that idea. If you like the original prequels, fine. You like the original trilogy, fine. But don't hate an entire aspect just because it's, you know, people have this contrary. They refer to them as contrarians. They like to like and dislike everything as long as it is the opposite of what is the norm. Mm-hmm. Like if it were the norm for me to rock Nikes and Adidas, and I say, well, all people that are rocking Nikes and Adidas are fucking fags and they're stupid, and that's the reason why I think that, I'm gonna look like a pretty fucking stupid idiot when someone calls me out and says, well, why? Outside of that, you can't use that reason. Deer in headlights. Deer in headlights.
Sheep mentality, man. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sheep mentality.
Are you saying that the fan base are lemmings? No, don't say that. That's not. Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah,
and I see a lot of that.
Oh, anyway, keep going.
but yeah. So I mean, pretty much. All right, let's just get into final thoughts. So final thoughts. Wrap this thing up.
Final thoughts. I mean, it can go either one of two ways. It can be a big success. It can kick off a whole new trilogy, get some new viewers, and have something in there for the older viewers. Like, well, I can't call myself an older viewer because the older viewers are probably in their 50s, going on 60s now. But try to tie in something for everybody, so I can take my family. I have something to enjoy. My wife has something to enjoy. With the romance and all that shit. And my son can see, maybe some little comic relief, someone not as annoying as Jar Jar, but you catch my drift. But not destroy the entire continuity with some non-canon made up bullshit.
Personally, if you're going to have it on canon or whatever they decide to do, please do not make a for the fans movie.
Mhm.
Don't make it for the fans movie.
Fan service.
And if you want, prime example, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. The biggest problem with this movie, it had great fight sequences, but guess what? Action don't make a good movie. Action don't make a good movie. Great special effects don't make a good movie, and certainly $1 million budget. And I'm not saying that it did, but other movies like if you $1 million budgets, big budgets, they don't make good movies either. And if you want to argue your point, Transformers. Enough said. But moving on, the biggest problem with Advent Children is that if you knew nothing about the storyline, you're pretty much what's going on? What's going on? Like, one of my friends watched this movie with me, and he was asking all these questions, and then it got to the point I'm like, okay, no more questions until the movie's over. Then he, the next day he does research on his own and all those questions, only to come back with more questions. And those are questions that even I don't have answers for. The last movie I watched that was based on a franchise that I loved was the last Star Trek movie. I don't know shit about the Star Trek movies, but I fucking loved that movie. It didn't make it for the fans. It had it open-ended and gave everybody something special. It was one of the first movies that I watched twice within the first viewing of it. And that's what I would like to see with this movie. Make a good movie that we can all enjoy without pandering to an entire fan base. But don't alienate them. Give us what we want, while at the same time something new and special that we can all herald in its artistic perfection.
Nicely put. And
Very eloquently said.
I'll pretty much just echo that, man. To be honest, I'm when I thought it was going to be, the adaptation of the books that take place after Return of the Jedi, I was like, I'm not looking these books up. I'm not reading them. I'm going in there fresh as a motherfucker. But now that it's not based off of anything and it's going to be completely original, I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool. Then everybody else can share in the experience. So, while it's too early for me to say whether or not I'm excited about it, I am open-minded to it. I will be keeping an eye out on everything. Like I said, it can't get worse than fucking Phantom Menace. Hopefully, I hope whatever story they decide to tell, I hope it's more like a reboot. And what I mean is, like, I'm not saying where it rewrites everything. No. That's not what I'm saying when I say it's a reboot. That's not what I mean. What I mean when I say a reboot,
You mean like Devil May Cry's latest game? Kind of like that?
I haven't played it. I don't know shit about it.
Oh, okay.
So, failed reference.
Sorry about that.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but no, when I say a reboot, I'm talking about a new movie that jumpstarts the fucking franchise again, and it keeps like Star Trek, like fucking Star Trek. That was
the Dark
a reboot.
Knight movies. Yeah.
Star Trek. Well, Star Trek's a better example because Star Trek, it's a reboot. It reintroduces all the fucking characters, but it still has all the fucking back continuity. Remember, that's what fucking what's your boy's name? Starts with an S. Spock.
Yeah.
When old
Yes.
Spock came back and he was telling young Spock, he was like, "Oh, you and this captain, y'all have many adventures and shit." They're acknowledging the old continuity, but the movie itself was still a reboot. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Mortal Kombat's last game did that. They
Yes.
the old story,
Yes.
but it was still something
Yes.
fresh.
Right, exactly. So that's what I want. That's what I want this to be. Something new. I mean, it can be a sequel. It can take place after Return of the Jedi, but a new story, new characters. Hell, you can have the old ones in there. You don't ignore the back continuity, except the Metachlorian things. Just write that out.
No one wants that.
Just because get back to the whole Force being mystical and
open-ended.
religious and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The magic bacteria.
And I mean, hell, if
That's
I
what it
mean,
is.
Shut
it
up.
is
Keep going.
right. And I mean, dude, if nothing else, bro, we're sure to get hell. There probably gonna be a fucking animated series in this. But I tell you this though, if Walt Disney has this motherfucking property and they don't put some new fucking rides at Disney World with Star Wars, I'm gonna be pissed.
Well, everyone will be pissed because that's like, the equivalent. You remember that song, Party Like a Rock Star? No fucking marketing off of the Rockstar Energy drink. I mean, it speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Never happened. And in this instance, it wouldn't make any sense to exploit it because that's what it's all about, right? I'll give you your money. Just give me something worth giving it for.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I'm a little bit I'm open to it. I'm a little bit more hopeful. All right,
Yeah, here.
so damn, we went on for 40 minutes, I think.
Wow.
Wrap up right here, actually. Then
Yeah. So that'll do it for the first ever OAW podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to thank my man once again, Dragnot, for stopping by,
Hell yeah.
and also the Fighting Gentleman for stopping by.
anytime, check out both of our channels. His is Dragnot Silvas. That's SLVAS. Am I correct?
SYL.
YL.
Just look up Dragnot shit. Just
Right,
put
and
that.
my Fighting Gentleman is one word. So look those up. And yeah, I appreciate you for having us, man.
Not a problem, not a
Thanks.
problem. And who knows? Hopefully this podcast will go over well. If it gets good enough reception, yeah, I wouldn't mind making this into one of the regular videos. And in the comments below, don't forget, in the comments below, let us all know your thoughts on this. And with that being
Yes.
said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander in Chief, signing off. And until next time, peace.
Later.